Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
It's morning, right?
I am John Palacio.
And I'm April Martinez.
And thank you for joining us this morning. It is a moist morning here in the city, April. My goodness.
It was not a moist morning in Vilmapan, but as
really?
I was driving up, the rain
started.
Yeah.
You actually came into the rain.
Yes, and it rained the entire way through.
Oh my goodness. But nonetheless, we're in a beautiful country. We could tell you that much. We know for a fact that with the weather being this way, it's just showers of blessings and trying to remove some of the dust across the city. Yep. We're not sure as to what's going on in your neck of the wood, but nonetheless, it is a beautiful morning out like we mentioned to you. It's a Wednesday and day 2 of the meetings there in La Isla Bonita, San Pedro. As a matter of fact, we've got our team out there. We've got our CEO, Marlene Cuellar, along with reporter Paul Lopez. You guys are looking spiffy on the screen.
Yes.
Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, April. Yeah, it's a lovely morning here in San Pedro. A little cool, actually. I don't know if there's I'm not going to say it, but we're hoping the weather will stay as beautiful as it was yesterday.
So
Of course, we're in La Isla Bonita.
I feel like Paul just keep the rub it in, just keep the push it in there.
That's what he's doing.
This place is amazing. The island of San Pedro is beautiful. You really have to be here to experience it. It's not really, the truth is, it's not only about the event that is taking place here at Grand Caribe, but it's about highlighting what San Pedro has to offer, not only to foreigners, but to Belizeans as well. And I mean, the energy out here is great. The people out here, they really represent what we are as Belizeans in terms of the culture, in terms of the warmth, and in terms of the friendliness. That's what we're getting out here in San Pedro, because I'll tell you something. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Paul tried today, not last night,
If
John.
it's one thing, there's no dull boys or girls here.
Let me give the background to this story. So here's the thing, John and April. John, I know you know this. April, I'm not so sure. What does San Pedro celebrate the night before Ash Wednesday?
They celebrate the. I know there is. I saw all this on social media. Marlene, honestly, I don't remember what your name, but I know the celebration.
Why you forget your party days? That's what happened. It was Carnival in San Pedro.
Yes.
You know, it's so interesting because it was the day the curfew was lifted too, and this is usually such a big event for San Pedranos especially, and I know Belize City residents would come out for it. So yeah, it was. The event for them to be able to get their last hurrah before they start Lent. Of course, today is Ash Wednesday. So, and Paul he wants to know why people were painting him, right?
Well, obviously, the tourists were all involved in it as well. They make sure that they're right in the center. Needless to say, I walked around. I was around with blue paint on my face for a good part of my dinner last night. And a good part on my way back home.
I hope you have pictures and you send.
He was spared of rotten eggs, though. I will say that much. So, because sometimes that's experience as well. But, you know, I think the other part that we were looking at earlier this week, it is so great to see the level of tourism activity that is taking place. Yesterday, I got a chance to catch up with Minister Andra Perez, and that was part of what we were talking about, that the island has come back to life, and that, you know, if you had seen it when it was in the thick of the pandemic, it was really disheartening to just see everywhere closed, and now you can see that things are definitely back on the right track. We know for the stakeholders, it will take a while for them to recover, but nonetheless, you see people out here ready to be able to enjoy the experience that Belize has to offer once again.
You know, Marlene, I must condemn. I must commend as well the police force,
Yes.
because based on what I've been seeing, what I saw last night and the night before, security out here is in full effect.
Yeah.
We see tourism police, we see other sorts of police doing their patrols. We see them making stops at the different establishments. You don't necessarily miss seeing the police out here. You don't necessarily miss seeing security out there, and that's a good sign. And as far as I'm seeing, they're not necessarily harassing tourists or harassing any establishment or persons. They're just here to ensure that peace is maintained.
Yeah, and one of the key things we do have to remember is that there is heightened security on the
Indeed,
island at the
indeed.
moment. You were talking about heads of nations being here, participating with in the event that we're actually here to do, because there is work taking place, of course, besides your late night paint party, right? But so that is a big part of the heightened security on the island. You know, these heads of nations, it is very important that they are safe. And so the security detail extends very far, and even with traffic detours, I know San Pedranos may not enjoy all the detours, but that is a part of what is necessary.
No doubt.
But of course, we're looking at yesterday's events. And yesterday we saw the official opening of the 33rd Intersessional Heads of CARICOM meeting. And of course, we were there to be able to see it. It was the kickstart of a 2-day working session. And there's been a whole lot of work going on, not just within the official meetings, but quite a few bilaterals as well.
The only time we were given access to the what is known as the West Room, which is really the conference room here at Grand Carib Resort, was during this time. And this of course is the opening ceremony, where we heard addresses from Prime Minister John Briceño, from the outgoing chair, Prime Minister Antigua,
Gaston Brong.
Barbuda, Gaston Brong, and then we also heard from the Secretary General of the CARICOM. One of the things that is being highlighted, at least when we spoke to the Foreign Minister from Suriname yesterday, and I think we'll hear some of what he had to say to us yesterday, was that this meeting is so important, and it's taken on a whole new level of seriousness. And he was confident. He spoke to us about his confidence to the fact that concrete steps and concrete measures will be structured in these meetings for moving forward. And he spoke about difference with this meeting and the meetings before, is that he feels that they have a higher caliber of leaders in these meetings, and so he believes that these leaders are very business oriented, and that they are also very results oriented. And so he is confident that great results will come out of these meetings, and that it will be, as he requested, more action, less talk.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are quite a few themes that came out just from the opening sessions. Of course, that was just what you were able to see there. They went into closed sessions where the meeting took place behind the scenes. And we will be looking forward to the closing press conference at the end of today, where we will be able to find out more about what was finalized within these meetings. That press conference is supposed to be at 5 p.m. But of course, it depends on how late they work. But you will be able to see it live on Channel 5. So, you know, I think pulling from the themes, and we're gonna see a bit of Foreign Minister of Suriname, Albert Ramdin, who, you know, I have to say is the former Deputy Secretary General of the Organization of American States, and a long-standing relationship with Belize. He's visited quite a few times. I know he told you that, and he's even visited us at Channel 5 as well, coming to do interviews at Open Your Eyes. So it was great to see him as well. But the meeting, I think the themes from the opening ceremony, in addition to being able to talk about the different agenda items. So you're talking about CSME, you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about COVID and post-COVID recovery. But the general theme for me was about solidarity and unity, and how in just a basic sense, what is really important for this region is that we are stronger together.
Indeed. That is definitely what's coming out of the meetings. That's definitely what we're hearing from the leaders that we speak to and that we continue to speak to over the days, is that it will take a united front, and that a united front is the only solution to some of these issues that we're facing as it relates to trade, for example. That's just one of the issues that seems to come up often, the issue of trade and our extra import bill in terms of what the Caribbean exports from non-Caribbean country versus what they import from internally from our own brothers and sisters within the Caribbean. And the goal, as I understand it, is to reduce that bill by 25% by 25% by 2025. Now that's a huge goal. It's an ambitious dream, but the thing is, it is aimed at assisting in the economic recovery of the region. So when you think about COVID-19 and how it affected countries across the region, this is one of the solutions that they're putting to the table. Now understand that this has been a goal before COVID-19, to reduce that import bill. But the fact that the COVID-19 has devastated economies across the region has highlighted the importance of reaching this goal in order to bring economies up to pre-COVID levels and even greater than that. So, Marlene, that's one of the issues where we see their trade. Also, I
think, if we could just dive into that for a little bit more, because if we put it into perspective, we look at the economic losses that Belize suffered due to the total shutdown of tourism. It was one of our main revenue earners. It's how the country earns most of its money. And it was a devastating loss for us. We had some other alternatives, but some of these small islands, they depend entirely on tourism. So imagine what we went through, but when that's their main source of revenue for the country. So it's not just looking at, we talked about how we've had this rebound this year, and the Ministry of Tourism has been highlighting that. It's looking at how, as a block, I think that it was the Prime Minister John Briceño who noted that, even being able to look at tourism from a regional perspective.
But I do want to touch a bit more on the agriculture before going to tourism, just to say that agriculture, that's one of the main pushes in terms of reducing our import bill. When you look at the demographics, when you look at the geography of the Caribbean and how it's set up, we actually have three huge countries that could join forces to become what one would term the breadbasket of the Caribbean. And believe it or not, Belize is a part of that movement. So you have Suriname, which has land that could be cultivated for food. You have Guyana, which also has that type of land to be cultivated for food. And then you have Belize. These three nations joining together to plan to reap so that we could feed our people and reduce those bills and reduce the amount of money we send internationally. And I think that when we talk about especially the CARICOM single market and economy, again, another very critical theme for the meetings that are taking place, it's about moving to proper implementation. And
one of the key challenges, which is particularly difficult for us as Belize, because where Suriname and Guyana are still closely situated near the Caribbean islands, we have a further distance to go. So transport costs are always more prohibitive for us. Now, how do we overcome that? Well, those are all parts of the things that have to be looked at because it must remain equitable. But
guys, I feel you know, when it comes to where we are, that is definitely a plus for us in terms of having to dialogue with our neighbors with respect to Mexico, and of course our neighbors with respect to Guatemala.
I was going to say it's going to be interesting to see the SICA conference in the next couple of days as well, to see how they articulate those issues into Latin America.
Because we've got one of the biggest transit routes when it comes to these countries, and we know for a fact that especially when it comes to Mexico, the millions of people right across there to Mexico, the same with Guatemala, the same with Honduras. So I feel, are set in an area whereby we could actually have a plus or a win-win with respect to this.
We are the bridge between Latin America and the Caribbean. So it would be very nice to see how we conjoin those.
We also know that we've got the interview that you guys did with one of the. So what do you say we go to that?
Yeah, John, just very quickly, I think you set the backdrop perfectly for why, as today wraps up and CARICOM's having their meeting, why tomorrow is also really important. Yeah. So, that CARICOM-SICA meeting offers even more opportunities to tackle exactly what you said. But you're right. Let's. I know you were able to talk to Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Suriname.
Yes.
Pulled some strings. Definitely wasn't given exclusive access to him. Had to do my media work, and he came to us. Yeah. So we're going.
So here's that interview.
What is it that is on the agenda for your nation? What are some of the topics and conversation that are of priority to Suriname?
Well, let me begin by saying this. We are happy to be in Belize. We appreciate the hospitality of the government and the people. These are beautiful surroundings, so it doesn't make it easy to have serious meetings. I think we all kind of tempted to be out of the meetings. But this is an important meeting, and I believe that for Suriname, President Santoki from Suriname will be the incoming chair. So after Prime Minister Bresenio has demitted, in July 1st, Suriname will become the chair. So it's important in that regard to have continuation of the agenda. But in terms of the whole region and for Suriname, a couple of very important issues. The single market and economy, critically important. How can we make it work better? A lot of work needs to be done. One of the most important issues is how do we get rid of all the non-tariff barriers? Those issues that make it difficult for exports to take place between the countries. So intra-regional trade needs to increase, and Suriname has made some proposals in that regard. Then the other thing that is important to us is the agricultural development of the region. Suriname, together with Guyana, can provide food security. Together with Belize as well, we can do much more in working together. We have a small market. The bridge which Belize can make between CARICOM and Central America is critically important. That's why we appreciate also the initiative of the Prime Minister to host the CARICOM-SICA Summit, because this region, Central America, is 60 million in market size. CARICOM is just 12, depending on how you count. So all these are opportunities. But the key thing at this meeting, which I sense and which will continue tomorrow, is that we want to be as concrete as possible. The time to talk is over. We need to really start getting into doing business in a much more aggressive manner, in a positive way, of course, by looking at opportunities towards the future. And there are several opportunities to work on. There are a couple of impediments, difficulties in terms of transport, by sea, by air, but also in terms of the internet. We'll have to solve those problems. So I can tell you that this meeting is going to be historical in the sense that leaders, this is a different team of leaders. They come together after 2.5 years of COVID-19, but this group of leaders have a different approach of being very business oriented, result-oriented. And I think that can only redound to the benefit of the people of the Caribbean region, but also for our standing in the world.
I'm sure you see how difficult it is to travel to Belize in particular, perhaps one of the only nations in the Caribbean that presents so much challenges when it comes to travel. And as our Prime Minister states, that makes it even more difficult for export to take products into the Caribbean. How do we even begin to address that issue?
Well, first of all, I don't want to say that we like to compete, but on the issue about accessibility, Suriname has its own challenges. I think it's something which we need to really work out, not only by the government. This must be done by the private sector, because in their operations, they will be much more efficient, looking at the business side, be profitable. In our case, in Suriname, we have been able to ask the private sector to invest in vessels and aircrafts, especially cargo aircrafts. That is already happening. So if we leave it up to the private sector, I think that will work out. We have to give the private sector more space, more opportunity to be part of this whole enterprise. But the government needs to be also much more bold in terms of decision making and much more effective. For long, there has been too much bureaucracy, too much talk, too much good intentions, too many good intentions. But the issue is now that we need to really walk the talk and make sure that those things which we promised to the people of the Caribbean are being carried out. That's the new vision for this region, and a good leadership will provide that vision to become reality.
This meeting is just a matter of formality. I understand that.
And of course, that's an interview conducted there by Paul Lopez with the Minister of Responsibility for Agriculture there in Suriname. You know, it's very important what he had been mentioning. The time for talk is actually over. The time for action is actually now.
Yeah.
This is where we start. The CICA meeting is going to be one very important, and of course we'll be staying on top of that here at Channel 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that he was talking about Suriname in general, because Suriname, Guyana, and Belize are the only countries on this region that are a part of CARICOM.
Yeah.
So we are, yes, Belize likes to talk about being the bridge between Latin America and the Caribbean, but we also have to remember that we have those other two countries as well that are allies of ours.
And you know, it's important for folks to know that we share similarities nearly with topography. We're big on agriculture, but I always give us the nod in terms of how things can be transited, because we've got big countries, huge countries next to us. North Mexico, west and south Guatemala, and we know west, south Guatemala and Honduras. And we know how important these countries are to us. The importance of having great sister cities or sister countries or relationship with these countries is a plus to each one, because there are imports and exports that are readily available for each of these countries to actually take advantage of.
Yeah, we can't forget that when it comes to these nations, they are not that far away. And one of my key questions is always going to be, when am I going to direct flight?
Of course, we know that with respect to tourism, we know that it is aggressively being pursued by the Ministry of Tourism here at home in Belize. But nonetheless, that's just a quick morning chit-chat there with you. It was great to hear from our CEO, Marlene, of course, with Paul as well, giving us the highlights of what day one of the summit was in San Pedro and what to expect from day two.
Definitely, we'll have that for you guys later on tonight in our news section.
But we need to move on. It is that time of the morning whereby we give you some additional motivation with the eye-opener. April, are you ready for that?
Let's go. Tell
the
me,
eye-opener taken from dailyom.com goes like this. Anyone who has walked through the valley of despair and come out of the other side knows that even in that darkness, seeds of light can be found. When we find ourselves in a place of despair, it can help us to know this so that we don't give up. We can stop, take a deep breath, and remind ourselves that we will find ourselves on the other side of this troubled time, and that we may even emerge with something new to offer. It seems that despair has been around for as long as humans have been able to express themselves, And many of the great artists, teachers, and visionaries have labored through times of depression and hopelessness. Their words, images, and lives can serve as beacons in the darkness, even if they can't always immediately lead us out. Even though we must ultimately rely on ourselves, this doesn't mean we can't ask for ourselves or ask for help. Our friends and families can help us, as can our inner guides and helping spirits. In addition, there truly are seeds of light inside us, however small, waiting to unfurl their green shoots if only we will give them the time. You know what I think about?
Tell me.
I feel when I read that over a few times, I think about having that conversation with the older folks. I think about that simply because these are the folks who actually bridge us with information so as for us to learn how to live in the future. This is exactly what it is for me. And remember, however, there truly are greener shoots out there. No, we have to give these shoots the ability to grow. Yeah. And that for me comes in the form of listening, accepting, and allow for it to happen. That's what I feel.
I have to agree with you, and I also think that when we talk about reminding ourselves, that's the key component. You have to remind yourselves that you will be able to get through troubled times, and you will be able to find that light. Often we think that it's too much to bear, but we will. And the more that you continue to go through life, find that little light that will help you to feel better, that will take you out of that dark spot. You will ultimately come more to a positive state.
Indeed, but I'll tell you this as well. There's a part of the eye-opener that actually spoke about what you can take away from it. Look, anything that happens in life, April, is actually a learning path for you. Yes, that's very important, and folks should understand that anything that happens, you get to learn from it. And one of the best teachers is, of course,
life experience.
You grow. I love the way that summed up. Love the way it's summed up. But indeed, like we mentioned, the eye-opener taken from dailyom.com. It's a great start for your morning, and it makes for great conversation within the office as well. All right. Okay. So with that said, we need to move on with this morning's show. Coming up next, it is the weather, and we've got Angelia Guy to let us know exactly what to expect. So here we go.
Good morning. A somewhat moist north to northeasterly airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast is forecast to be sunny with some cloudy spells today, along with a few showers and light rain mainly over central, southern, and offshore areas. And then partly cloudy tonight with a few showers mainly over southern coastal areas. High temperatures today will reach near 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 85 inland, and 70 in the hills. Low temperatures tonight will fall to about 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 68 inland, and 62 in the hills. Winds over the open sea will blow from the north and northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be light chop. High tide will occur at 10:15 this morning, followed by low tide at 6 minutes to 4 this afternoon. The sun rises at 10 minutes past 6 this morning, followed by moonrise at 6:18. The sun will set at 1 minute to 6 this evening, followed by moonset at 6:12. The outlook for Thursday and Thursday night is for generally fair weather to prevail, with only isolated showers developing. In this week's sargassum update, there is only a small chance that a few sargassum mats could drift ashore during the next few days. In the fire risk forecast, the risk for brush or forest fires is low to moderate, with generally fair weather expected tomorrow. Moderate fire risk will exist. And that ends this morning's weather report and forecast from the National Meteorological Service.
All right, and we're so thankful to have been joined by Angelia to provide us with the latest in the weather. Now we know exactly what to expect, April.
We'll see tomorrow, rain again.
Well, we move on. We've got three topics to touch on for this morning, three segments for you. Kicking off this morning's show with...
We'll have the Minister of Health and Wellness via Zoom, Honorable Kevin Bernard, who will be talking to us about the breakdowns of the new SIs, sharing the do's and the don'ts for this new era of the pandemic that we're
Oh,
going
my goodness.
into. Yes.
Looking forward to that conversation, and I'm sure that you are as well, and we'll be asking the questions that you would like to know about, all right? And the second segment for this morning, definitely one to look forward to, and it follows up the first segment, which of course is about COVID. We'll be joined by Dr. Joy St. John, who is the Executive Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA, and she'll be sharing with us the response, or the regional response, to the COVID-19 pandemic.
That should be a good conversation as well, because you know how we always feel like that's just we the struggle, right?
Yeah.
It would be nice to know what's happening on around
regionally,
us, right? Yes.
Indeed.
And then of course for our last conversation, we will be joined by Otto Guillermo Noack, who is the Executive Director of the Central American Commission for Maritime Transport, and Major Gilbert Suazo, who is the Port Commissioner.
All right.
And they will be here to talk to us about the role of CARICOM as it relates to the maritime ports in Belize.
All right, so we're looking forward to all three conversations. We are about to take a break. When we come back, of course, we'll be diving directly into our first segment. So you want to stay with us. We'll be right back.
We have been a partner with SMART for over 10 plus years. We have a full SMART plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this SMART service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our SMART service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to SMART because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
SMART continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Hello, welcome to Samsung's awesome experience right here in Belize. Come check it out. Not sure which Samsung Galaxy A series is right for you? Touch, play, and learn about your device before you buy. Once you've purchased your device, you can now benefit from the full Samsung service experience.
Your phone is covered by a 1-year local warranty. This includes manufacturer defects and software and hardware issues caused by the manufacturer.
Enjoy your phone with peace of mind knowing that your Galaxy is protected. And when your warranty expires, you can still bring it to our certified Samsung Repair Center. Our technicians will diagnose and repair your device with Samsung original parts and machinery.
Enjoy the Samsung experience when you shop at any of our authorized partners countrywide, including Cellular World, Digi, Odette's Home Center, Debari, Tropigas, and Quartz. Join the Samsung experience in Belize today.
Girl Jill, now how you make it up this hill so fast with such ease?
Well, you see, Jack, I know if I get my tires for this a nice ride. I got at the best tire center of Belize. Their tires have strong resistance and durability for any road or hill you go on. And not get fooled by cheap prices and inferior quality when no one last. Tire Center of Belize have the topper brands like Rydans, Landvigator, and Firemax. They have the best quality and prices in a Belize. So check them out at Power Lane in Belmopan or La Loma Luz Boulevard in Santa Elena. You could even call them at 822-3005 or 824-3005 for more information.
Well, Jill, I have no plans to roll back down this hill again. I go in a tire center of Belize right now.
So remember, for great quality tires for a lot less, you must check out Tire Center of Belize today.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and we're moving now into our first segment for the morning. Of course, this is our COVID-19 update, all courtesy Fulltech Systems. In to talk to us is actually the Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Kevin Bernard. This conversation is definitely to break down the new SI being shared, the do's and don'ts of that as well.
Yes,
Minister Bernard, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, John. Good morning, April. It's a privilege to be here, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great morning in our region.
Well, you know, you're sort of a routine, but that's all right because we told you it's raining here in the city. But nonetheless, let's jump on into this. This SI actually pointed out a lot, and that's exactly where I'd like to start out in terms of pointing out what the SI is saying. For the most part, the statutory instrument is definitely a very important instrument for folks to know what to, how to, and where we move on from there. Let's, from you, the minister himself, point out the importance of this new SI.
Well, thanks, John and April, and good morning to all those listening. And of course, I believe that, you know, as you're all aware, Cabinet made a decision last week when we attended the Cabinet retreat, and I was to present on the living with COVID and living with COVID responsibly. Yeah. After long consultations with our team, you know, there were certain regulations that we felt, restrictions that we felt needed to be lifted. Belizeans have been more than 2 years living under these restrictions, and we felt that it is time to remove some of them. And so what we have done, the first one being the curfew, that was one that, as you know, we have had several changes in the time for curfew. We felt that it has served its purpose, and that was the first decision was made that we have to lift the curfew. I know the other one is the issue of the mask. Yeah. The decision was made that mask will only be required if you're outdoor. And I just want to point out a section of the SI which states when you need to wear that mask. Okay. The mask must be worn when you are conducting or any gathering when you're indoor or in a closed space. Okay. For example, you're going to a church service, a wedding ceremony or celebration, a funeral service, wake or repast. If you're attending a social club event, including those fraternal society, a civil association or organization of a private club, or any other reception, whether as well if you're accessing a government building or office, including the building of or office of statutory bodies, business offices, shops, stores, supermarkets, hardware stores, you know, or any other business establishment, and importantly, public transportation. That has always been one of the issues. As you know, in buses, you have to really be seated almost close to each other. So the requirement for masks remains when it's that. In terms of the wearing of masks outdoor, that restriction has been lifted, and it states in the subsection whether that you are not required. That doesn't mean, it does not say that that you have to take it off. Meaning it's your choice, no? Yeah. But you're not required to wear a face mask, whether you are at a private residence, you are outdoors in an open space, or as was being done before. You're driving alone or driving with family members in the same vehicle. And so that was the changes that has come in terms of the mass issue.
What about
another change, as you know, that also occurred was in terms of what is going to be required for persons who are restricted in certain ways. Now, if you are attending, for example, wedding celebration, a sporting event, a social club event, concert or banquet or ball or so forth, you must, the host, it says that no person shall host or attend any event under the sub-regulation 2 unless every person present, whether host, participant, or attendee, as the case may be, is immunized. So there is also some restrictions in terms of when these events are being had, that there's a requirement for immunization. So you can have your concert at 75% capacity, because gathering has also been changed from 50% to 75%.
Yes.
It has opened up a bit in terms of allowing for concerts. It's allowing for dance and so forth. There was one change I wanted to point out there, John and April, that there was the issue of church that has been removed, and I know the Solgen is removing that specific. So there's going to be an amended SI sometime today, published in the Gazette, just to make that amendment, and there was another amendment which I will explain later. That had to be also adjusted. So if we're having these events, you are required. So you're having sports, you're having a recreational event, you're having a repast, you're having a wedding celebration. You know, the people are going to go and party in an indoor event. You must wear a mask. You must be immunized to attend these events. And so the hosts and the organizers of these events are also responsible to ensure that these things are being done.
So, Minister,
as well, the other issue of that was also a very burning issue for Belizeans.
So, Minister,
was the issue of the border crossing. One of the main change that has now been changed is, let's talk about the Belizeans first. As you know, Belizeans going out of the country must be vaccinated. That remains. The only change really that took effect was that now persons coming into the country does not necessarily have to test if you have proof of vaccination or proof of immunization, meaning you have taken your full vaccines. And so in the case of Belizeans, it's only vaccinated person who can leave. It's only vaccinated people who can leave the country. So upon them returning to the country, whether after a day or 2 or 3, whatever days you spend outside, you no longer need to test on return.
So, Minister, you're talking even if you're planning on leaving to actually use the Philip Golson as a part of you leaving this country, because for the most part the requirements of these countries, like for instance the U.S. and certain Caribbean countries or Central American countries, you must show that you are able to, or you must take along your vaccine. You must show proof of vaccination or proof of testing. Actually, proof of testing.
That's right.
So
going out also is based on your. I was referring to the land borders because that was what was the change. So remember when you were going out to the land borders and returning, whether it was after 24 hours, you had to go in and take a test. And pay that $100 at the border. But on going out by air, then you have to take a test. For example, I'm traveling out of the country, myself and the CEO today. We had to take our test. Those requirements remain because the countries require you
To be tested before you, yes, before you leave.
The airlines require you to provide a test. Until they remove those restrictions, then we can't change that.
Okay.
But internally we're saying coming into Belize now, if you are a tourist coming into the country, all you have to do is to prove that you are immunized.
Okay.
Now, if you are not immunized, then you have to test at country. We're not accepting you to bring any tests from America or anywhere. You must test at our country entry point. So whether you're coming to the land border, or you're coming by sea, or you're coming by air, you must test at our identified facilities there at the airport or at the land border.
If you haven't been immunized as
Vaccinated.
yet. Okay.
That is right.
And quick question, because I know April want to jump in here, but quick question. When we talk about being immunized, we're talking here, if I'm coming from America as a tourist, but I have received only one shot, what happens then?
I believe that from what we're talking about, you must be fully vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah, fully vaccinated. That's right. Otherwise, you'll be subject to testing.
What about the tour buses that are coming into the country? So you have those restrictions for the air transportation, but what about the tour buses that are coming, like for example, Adeo from Mexico? Do we have those?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that those have yet to return in terms of service. I believe that whenever that starts to occur, the restriction will remain the same. Those persons will have to be tested.
Okay.
And that's one of the restrictions that were initially started, but then they have to prove if they are not vaccinated, then they have to also test at the border.
So with respect to wearing masks indoors and whatnot, we did mention stores and various spots. Is it by discretion from a store owner or a proprietor, or it's mandatory that once you enter any building, any place, you must wear a mask?
It's mandatory.
Okay.
And it's an offense if an establishment allows person within their establishment to go in there without mask. So the onus now is also on the owners of these establishments to ensure that there's proper signage, to ensure that those security guards that are at the front, or whether it is a police officer that they hire at nights or in the day, or a private security, those persons must ensure that whenever anyone access those buildings, whether you're going to the bank, whether you're going to the supermarket, whether you're going to a shop, you must wear your mask.
Just to be clear, enclosed spaces for social gatherings such as clubs and casinos are still to remain closed.
What I did not get you what you said.
Social gatherings in indoor spaces such as clubs and casinos are still to remain closed?
Well, nightclubs and bars and remain closed up to this time. That has not been removed. Those restrictions have not been removed. Okay. The casinos still operate at 75% capacity now.
Okay.
However, remember the requirement for the casinos was also that if you go to play with a slot machine here, the other one must be closed off because there must be in 6 feet separation within those establishments. The wearing of masks is a priority as well in those establishments.
What about outdoor?
So all indoor activities must have your wearing of masks. So if you want to go to the theater, for example, which will now be allowed, you must the owners of these establishments, which in the case is only in Belize City, they must ensure that there are proper seating arrangement where you are separated 6 feet apart, and these persons must wear their mask at all times.
What about outdoor markets? For instance, Belmopan, they've got a very vibrant market, so is San Ignacio, so is PG, and of course here in Belize City as well, and across the country. Do they, if I go there, is it mandatory that I wear a mask, even though if it's an outdoor place, but I've got to do one-on-one business?
Well, in those scenarios, John and April, I think we have to be very frank. If it's an open air and the side is saying that you not necessarily have to use a mask, it is also based on your own responsibility. Yeah. Let me use this example. If I'm personally me, and I have said this personally on record, I will always use my mask.
Okay.
if I go out, not because the SI say you're not necessarily have to use a mask outside, I will still use my mask.
Yeah.
What I want to caution persons though, because that doesn't mean that you will go outside and you will have a gathering of 50 persons in one area and expect that not wearing a mask. Because this is allowing you, if you're walking from your home and you're going to the shop, you still have to have that mask on you, because when you get to that shop,
you have to put it on.
You have to wear that mask.
Yeah.
So I believe though, because just yesterday, as I was driving to Belmopan, and while I was out in Belmopan, you still see people on their bikes, you still see people walking, wearing their mask, so I think it has become a part of a norm, and it will take a while for people to really take a grip of it, and which at the end of the day, again, it boils down to your own personal choice. And I will say this just as what the Prime Minister had mentioned. If you don't feel safe, then wear your mask.
Yeah.
So, Minister, will these SIs be subjected to change if you see flux in the cases go up? I mean, especially with the Easter holiday coming up and what's not. So, how will you guys be monitoring these cases closely, and how will you be updating us with the public?
Well, definitely, April, like what I want to say, and I mentioned this as well. We are using, this SI has come into effect. We're using this month of March as we further look at further easing.
Yeah.
However, we also must be cognizant that COVID is not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
It has diminished, it has reduced in terms of the level of spread. In terms of when you look at the hospitalization rate, when you look at the positivity rate, it has been where it's manageable. And I want to point this out. These restrictions are not being lifted because the US is doing so, or the Bahamas is doing so, or Mexico is doing so. This is Belize's decision. And where we were able to control the spread of this virus over the past 2+ years was because of the decisions made and the response made by our medical team and COVID response team. So if there should be another variant popping up at some point in time, it's obvious that we will have to go back and look at other restrictions that will have to be implemented. So we are easing up now, but if there is any major issues related to COVID thereafter, we will have to go back and then pass new regulations to control any spread that may ever come. We are hoping that is not the case.
Let's talk about public testing. We know that throughout the country there have been public testing at, like, for instance, Belize City, here at the Civic Center, at the Swift Hall, and various places across the country. Are those places still open for public testing?
They are still open up to the end of March. After end of March, these public sites will reverse back to the hospitals and to the authorized locations. One of the things that we're going to do, John and April, is that those same persons that are assisting with the testing, because we had to hire a lot of temporary persons to go out and do these testing, those persons will then go out and assist with the vaccine campaign.
Wow, okay.
Because our idea is to push vaccination. We are hopeful that we can start to target, we can get the vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds as early as possible. And so by the time we are able to get those, we are really pushing hard. I want to thank Dr. Baer and the team. I want to thank our colleagues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who are also in discussion. And I know that's a big topic at the CARICOM summit taking place as well. Discussions with CARFA and how you access vaccine and the ability to access vaccine as part of a CARICOM scenario. So what we're doing, John and April, we are pushing very hard to try and get those pediatric vaccines. Some people ask the question, but how come El Salvador or other countries are already applying vaccines to children 5 to 11? But what is happening in some of those countries, they are using the same adult vaccines at a lesser dosage, which is not something recommended by WHO.
Wow.
And so we are saying we have the recommendation is that you access the pediatric vaccines, and then when you have those, then you
that's what you
then,
administer.
That's right. That's what you administer. So we are waiting on that process to get that done.
Are you seeing that Belizeans are getting more vaccinated? Are those rates going up, and not just vaccinated but also boosted?
Well, one of the things as you know, for the past month and a half or two, it has been a very slow uptake. I think that when you look at, well, let me just point out something here. The results that you see going out every day focuses on the daily vaccines. But the number, we are still hovering just below 50% on the overall population.
Okay.
But when you look at the targeted population, because the overall population is from ages 1 or newborn all the way up, which of course, you know, we cannot vaccinate those young population. So we are, so we have to cut out the numbers from 5 to 11.
Okay.
So we are talking about 12 and above, which is about 300,000+ Belizeans. So when you look at the number of persons who have been fully vaccinated in that target group, we're about 66%.
Okay.
So we are at a good percentage in terms of the persons being vaccinated. Okay. And if we get those pediatric vaccines, we are pretty sure that we will be able to then take up that number even further. What we want to do, however, is to, in terms of boost the vaccine, and because we're easing up, we're going to go more on an aggressive vaccine campaign. We want to target those persons who have yet decided to become vaccinated.
Wow.
To get vaccinated. And so going out on the ground, it's like you're running a campaign. I said to my team, we need to act as if we are running a political campaign.
Yes.
House to house. Talk to people, visit them, and give them the benefits. And maybe that way we are able to get more and more persons vaccinated. And of course, we're going to use the Ministry of Education, working with the Ministry of Education to get into the schools, to get more of those 12 to 17-year-old that have not gotten their vaccines to get vaccinated. The boosters, I want to encourage people, because you raised the point about boosters. There are a lot of persons out there that can take advantage of getting their booster shots. If it's your turn, get boosted. You know, it's important for us to protect ourselves, to put on more defense in our system. And so we have enough vaccines in this country. Like we said, government has done its part, the state has done its part in making sure we have access to vaccines, Jan and April. We have enough vaccines that we utilize. We have the Johnson & Johnson currently in stock, over 110,000 vaccines of Johnson & Johnson, and we have another 100,000+ vaccines of Pfizer. And so we need to get those vaccines out. We need to get those in the hands of people. And so we are saying, come out and get vaccinated. And whenever the 5 to 11-year vaccines come, we're going to push again to get those young population vaccinated.
How early do you see that happening?
Well, we are really pushing. If you ask me personally, I told them I would want it tomorrow. But we are working. We know it's a tough process to go through. And we are really targeting by April. We are hoping that we can get those by April. If all goes well and we get the support to do that, we are going to push as much to get those vaccines in country.
Time is winding down. We know that you are about to leave the country, but once again, let's get back to the SI. We know that there are big events coming up. This weekend is going to be the Belikin La Ruta Maya. We're saying that if anybody is supposed to attend these events, and not only the Belikin La Ruta Maya, but there are concerts that will be eventually that will be held as well. How do you monitor that the people that will be attending these events are fully vaccinated?
It's always a challenge, John, and I know that it's going to be tough for organizers, but we have said to them, the requirements are you must ensure that persons coming into your events are fully vaccinated. Remember now, the Ministry of Health and Wellness provided an app, and you could use those apps. You could use those apps to check. You use the actual card. So it requires some more responsible actions on the part of the events holders. So the hiring of more personnel to ensure that to be able to check these persons participating in these events. we live in a small country, John and April, and there will be some slips at times, but we are hoping that people are responsible enough. Yeah. And we have to push that. I have to keep driving that home. I have great hope and optimism for Belizean people. And I drive this point because when we go over to Chetumal, we do everything that Chetumal requires us to do.
Yes.
Everything. We keep the garbage in our pockets if we have to. So we need to do the same in Belize. I keep saying this even when I was mayor of this town. I kept repeating it as a message to our citizens, because we must always remember that this is our country. These are our people. We must protect ourselves. We must protect our families, and we must be responsible. So at the end of the day, all of these changes are being made, but the responsibility now lies in my hands, in your hands, and in the wider population.
And if proprietors are not adhering to these rules, Minister, will there be penalties levied? And if so, what kind?
Well, of course, there are penalties, and I believe the SI clearly states out those penalties. Well, remember now, we also have the ticketing system that is also part of these regulations. There are fines, I believe, up to $1,000 for every offense. There are fines for persons, establishment owners, if they are not making sure that the proper signage and the markings and they are allowing people to access their buildings without wearing their masks as well. There are fines up to $1,000. So it is there, and we are hoping that, however, that the Belizean people understand what we are doing, and at the same time be responsible enough to adhere to these regulations and to these changes.
Well, Minister, time is up. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, I just want to say to everybody, as a government, we believe that we've reached this point where we have to be responsible for ourselves, for our own actions. And we want to ask, as a Minister of Health and Wellness, I want to make the appeal to Belizeans out there who have not yet been vaccinated to go out and get vaccinated. Let us ensure that we encourage our young children between 12 to 17 who can be vaccinated to go out and get vaccinated. Let us continue to help prevent the spread of this virus, but to also reduce the spread of the virus by being vaccinated and be responsible.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming in, Honorable Kevin Bernard. We wish you safe travels today.
Safe travels, buddy.
And we hope to have you in studio soon, where we can discuss more about this at the end of the month.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right,
have a good day.
Yes, sir. So we're about to take a break, and of course, when we come back, it's going to be the second segment. We'll be discussing CARFA as they share with us their regional response to the COVID-19 pandemic. That and more when we come back. Stay with us.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
You want a mobile service provider that allows you to stay connected with fast, reliable LTE coverage anytime, anywhere. Whether it's just to catch up with family, to share that experience with your one special friend, or to manage your small business. Whatever's your thing, you deserve to have the best mobile experience. Now you can do even more while on the go with the increased anytime data allowance in Digi's mobile postpaid plans. You now enjoy 8 gigs of anytime data starting at only $55 monthly. Or share up to 120 gigs of anytime data with up to 6 of your closest friends. That's more LTE data for you to enjoy during the day, nights, and weekends. No restrictions. So keep your gigs up with more data plus unlimited talk and text in all Digi postpaid plans. Visit a Digi store near you to sign up today. All you need is a valid ID and proof of address. It's time to get on Belize's fastest mobile 4G LTE advanced network. Visit livedigi.com to find out more or hit us up on WhatsApp or Facebook. Digi, our national telecom.
Connecting people. Creating memories.
Guys, so here we are at the Glaze Out Kitchen. I just prepared this amazing broccoli.
Sharing a smile. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
I'm Jada Brown. I'm strong. I am unstoppable. I am paddling for the rights of women and girls in Belize.
Hi, my name is Tina Herrera, and I'm paddling to end violence against women and children.
I'm Jasmine Armstrong, and we are paddling for all the women in Belize.
We are paddling together to break the bias.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our second segment for the morning. This one is all about CARFA, which is the Caribbean Public Health Agency. And it is about the response to the pandemic that we're in, of course, which is COVID-19. And to talk to us all about it is Dr. Joy St. John, who is the Executive Director of Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA. Dr. St. John, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Good morning.
We're loving the colors and loving that dress. My goodness.
Yes, this is one of my favorite dresses, and I actually have a cloth mask to match it.
Oh my goodness.
Dr. St. John, it's really lovely to have you on. Even though it's not in person, we really appreciate you giving us your time. Can you just explain to us a little bit for our viewers at home that might not know who CARFA is and what are your objectives?
I like how you said who CARFA is. CARFA is a Caribbean community institution, and we have intergovernmental agreements with 26 member states, including the CARICOM member states. And we are the WHO is the Caribbean countries. The WHO is also 5 former regional public health institutions, 2 of which were PAHO institutions, CAREC and Caribbean Food and Nutrition Institute. We also had the Caribbean Environmental Health Institute, the Caribbean Health Research Conference, and the Caribbean Regional Drug Testing Laboratory. So we are unusual in terms of the composition of our skill set. And we are one of, I think, only 3 multinational public health institutions. So CARFA is all things public health, a one-stop shop for health, including environmental health, including research, including the testing and the regulation of medicines when they come into the market, when they want to come in, when they're in, we also check them. So we are not just the traditional public health agency, and we're all about the Caribbean.
So founded somewhere around, I think, 2011, put to work at around 2013. Tell us
you did your homework.
Tell us how CARFA has enhanced public health in the Caribbean since then to now.
Well, CARFA has been heavily involved in trying to prevent the tide of NCDs. CARFA has also been a very trusted laboratory. We have 3 laboratories, the CARFA Medical Microbiology Laboratory in Trinidad, the Environmental Health Lab in St. Lucia, and the Medicines Quality Control and Surveillance Department in Jamaica. All 3 are accredited so that you are assured of not only the correct tests, but also cutting edge technology. And fast forwarding to 2020, we started working with the chief medical officers on what seemed to me to be something of great concern and what became COVID-19 in, I think, a couple of months later. And during that exercise, it hasn't just been a holding pattern. We've been trying to do health system strengthening at the same time as fighting the pandemic. And we have done it through the health security perspective, so that it's not just doing tests, it's not just giving advice, it's also ensuring that the health systems and the resilience of the countries is enhanced. So I am hoping that people remember all of the lessons that have been learned during this pandemic, because anything that comes after this, the Caribbean should be able to snap into attention and deal with the threat.
Can you give us a small walkthrough of CARFA's response to COVID-19 from its inception in 2020 to now 2022? We see certain regulations being lifted here in Belize and across the Caribbean community. What has been CARFA's response in the past 2 years?
Well, what we did initially was to try to prepare so that whatever came to the Caribbean, we were ready to deal with it, because the Caribbean was being described as under-resourced and unready.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we did, and this is with the very kind assistance and coordination of the CARICOM Secretariat, is that we have been a conduit for a great deal of financial and technical assistance. So we have had support with PPE, we have had support with reagents, we have had support with equipment, including equipment for treatments.
Yeah.
And these have been distributed to the member states. But separate and apart from that, CARFA went about the whole business of producing guidelines which would allow safe return to activity, and not just health sector activity. We did guidelines for practically every sector and every activity, including the conduct of elections. And along with that, we did a great deal of training. So we had a policy of producing guidelines, training through something called the CARFA Health Rounds, CARFA COVID-19 Health Rounds, and then research. So getting on to the training, we would have done the health rounds, and we would have done specific training for sectors. We did a lot of focus on tourism through the Tourism and Health Program, and through our collaboration with our regional tourism partners, such as CHTA, CTO, the OECS Commission, and GT, RCMC in Jamaica. And that training was all about making sure that there was safe return to activities, safe for the tourists, safe for the health workers, the tourism workers, and safe for the countries. And then, of course, the research. We were able last year to return to our annual health research conference. It was the first virtual health research conference and the 65th iteration of this. And CARFA itself has conducted research, including research on vaccine hesitancy, which we are putting into our communications campaigns.
Yeah.
The other thing that CARFA did was a whole lot of interaction with a lot of sectors. Most recently, I've been interacting through the OECS, with the ministers of health, tourism, and education, so that we have tried to keep abreast or a little bit ahead of all of the trends from the epidemiological perspective. And we've tried to anticipate how the Caribbean can prepare itself and get on with the living and the safe living with COVID-19.
Yeah. I just listening, it made me feel, I got that warm feeling over to know what CARFA is actually doing. And of course, providing that public health throughout the Caribbean, of course, member states. Now, with respect to vaccines now, I can't say, well, there is an enhancement of enrollment, but at the same time, what have CARFA done with respect to push vaccines and try to roll it out towards member states?
So CARFA doesn't have an immunization program, but nobody who knows what's been going on would believe it, because the White House chose CARFA to execute its 4 million doses donation of Pfizer vaccines. Now, Pfizer had not come to most of the Caribbean at the time that they approached us last year. So along with that, there was this whole issue of ensuring that the member states were ready, because at that time, it was a very difficult vaccine to handle. It had to be kept at minus 60 to 80 degrees. Yes. The whole issue of trying to get it into arms. But through that process, we were able to ensure that even countries that didn't have the capacity, not just the freezers, the ultra cold chain freezers, but also the ability to deal with that vaccine in the field and ensure that you kept the cold chain. That's part of the upscaling. And I have to single out PAHO, because PAHO were partners with us in this whole capacity building to deal with Pfizer, because PAHO has the immunization program. And we also were able to procure, again through PAHO's assistance, procure an incredible store of special syringes, safety boxes, so that we have a stockpile of whatever is needed for the Caribbean, and we can get it to them at a moment's notice. Again, that last part is with PAHO's assistance. So we also utilized the very important issue of solidarity. And we have solidarity in dealing with one of the worst things that has happened in this pandemic, which is the anti-vax sentiment.
Yeah.
And we have a special committee that is working on custom-made messages for each of the member states.
Wow.
And we've been working also with Facebook. Well, it's called Meta now, but forget that. We're also working with Facebook on this whole issue of getting people away from vaccine hesitancy to vaccine confidence.
And with respect to vaccines for the pediatrics, for children 5 to 11, have we seen a rollout of that? And is there any with respect to CARFA and our member states?
So from the perspective of our regulatory arm, we have a regulatory arm, Caribbean regulatory system, which has been recommending, after assessment of what is being offered, ensuring that it does match the dossier of what is in the recognized metropolitan markets like the US and UK. We use dossiers for reliance. We have been recommending all along to the member states that all of the vaccines that have the WHO emergency use listing. And so our most recent recommendation has been for those vaccines 5 to 11. In terms of the procurement and let's say the access is something that is still being worked on. But we have all of the regulatory approvals when there is access granted by the manufacturer, Pfizer. So the member states will know that it is safe. The governments will know that there is no additional liability because there is a vaccine being used that has not been approved. So that is what we're doing so far that I can tell you.
Well, I want to actually circle back to something that you said in your previous message in regards to your research on vaccination hesitancy. That is something that we are seeing very much in Belize. And so I wanted to know a little bit more about the approach that you're taking for that research, what those statistics look like, and what our CARF has planned to maybe do something about that. What are the solutions?
Okay, so we actually used the CARFA Research Ethics Committee. That's one of the superstructures that we put in place as well. We reactivated the Caribbean Network of Research Ethics Committees, created an executive, and then for CARFA itself, we have a Research Ethics Committee. So the Research Ethics Committee gave approval for the proposal that we put to them. And it was for getting information from the social media users 18 years and older about what was making them not take vaccines or take vaccines. And what we found was that they trust the healthcare workers, they trust institutions like CARFA and PAHO for their information. The other thing that we found is that they like to get their information in something called infomercials or infographics. In other words, not the traditional movie type thing. They want something which is like a cartoon, but it's showing you all the correct actions and the information. We found out that they like that. And we also found out that among healthcare workers, there was, and this was in concert with what PAHO was finding out at the same time, because PAHO did their survey on healthcare workers. Our percentages almost exactly matched what PAHO found in terms of the hesitancy among the healthcare workers. So we knew that we had to work on the healthcare workers. So what we've been doing, where we've only just recently got money through PAHO from the Canadian government for doing a wide campaign, having found this information. And we're working on the tailor-made messages, and at the moment going through a process to get expressions of interest from companies that will do the campaign on the scale that CARFA can, and with the kind of messaging that CARFA can't.
Excellent, excellent. I think one of the things that plague us in the Caribbean or in this part of the world is that what we must source equipment, like for instance PPEs and vaccines and other stuff from other countries. But at the same time, these larger countries what they do, because they're larger countries, is that they actually gobble it up for themselves as much as possible. So what can we do, or what do you think would be in the future that mission whereby we are able to create our own vaccine or create our own PPEs? Are we seeing this in the horizon?
Well, the first thing I want to say is the Caribbean didn't take that seeming not wanting to give access lying down. Behind the scenes, there was incredible diplomacy. And CARFA also exhibited health diplomacy. That's how we got those donations.
Wow.
Don't forget the government of India, Prime Minister Modi gave us those AstraZeneca vaccines early when COVAX wasn't ready. CARFA also, and this was through funding that we had from the EU, put over $2 million US dollars into COVAX so that the countries could get access the member states could get access, and we also paid for some of the vaccines for some of the member states. And then, of course, the U.S. donation. I remember when the White House started speaking to me, they were talking about other vaccines, and I said, I want Pfizer. I want Pfizer vaccines, because I knew that the citizens felt comfortable with Pfizer because of their ability to travel, and I knew that the Caribbean people wanted to travel.
That's right.
So I saw it as a way of getting past some of the hesitancy that we were having at the time. Going forward, the issue of making your own vaccines or treatments is something that the heads of government will need to pronounce on. I will not say what has been discussed in the heads of government meeting, but suffice it to say that the Caribbean regulatory system will be there to support the member states, ensuring quality, which is recognized globally for any such venture.
I also wanted to kind of piggyback on John's statement when it comes to not just the equipment or the material and the resources, but also the manpower. Because we often talk about how Belize is a small country. All of these other Caribbean nations, they're relatively small population size as well. When it comes to the manpower and resources, I know for us it's hiring more people to provide dosages and provide vaccinations, and then also do the testing and so forth. Is that something also in the lines of discussing how we can also get more people to work with CARFA?
Well, this whole issue of surge is something that frightened me in January 2020.
Okay.
Because I was seeing a scale of disease that I knew that the Caribbean had not seen in my lifetime, and probably for another 50 years again. And I was afraid of the scale of disease, that if we could handle it in terms of having the skilled people, because this is not a simple disease, even though it's being pegged as a simple disease.
Yes.
It takes considerable skill to deal with a severe infection of COVID-19, especially the variants before Omicron, because there was this penchant for attacking the lungs. But what I saw is, and people don't probably understand this because there haven't been a health administration. Before I was at CARFA, I was chief medical officer, and then I worked at World Health Organization as an assistant director general. I saw a level of flexibility and adjustment within the health sector. I also saw that they reached out to Cuba for surge of hands for the clinical care that I just talked about. So the Caribbean has the ability to scale up in ways that we learned during the pandemic. That being said, we will need to scale up the education of our key sector, and it is nurses. Nurses, not only to train as basic nurses, but also to have training as critical care nurses. And we also have to scale up their understanding of things public health, because there was a significant amount of vaccine hesitancy among the nurses across the region.
Yes.
So those are things that we need to do in our training of our nurses. And then for the ancillary services or the epidemiological services, we're going to need more epidemiologists, because it's a skill that you need for tracking numbers. Numbers for CARFA aren't just things that are said on the news. For CARFA, this is like the building blocks of all kinds of things. What we advise, if to ramp up or if to scale back. Will it stop a sector, especially a productive economic sector, from functioning? What are some of the ways that we can advise that you can still work? So for us, epidemiologists are golden. We need more epidemiologists. And we need a cadre of healthcare workers who are trained as well with the Masters of Public Health, because what you saw for the last 2 years was public health par excellence in the Caribbean. The chief medical officers commanded a kind of rethink of how the Caribbean executed its health product that I don't think anyone expected. I knew that they could do it because I was one. We need, therefore, more people who understand public health and more people who will work as boots on the ground in the community centers, the polyclinics, and so on. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, the educational sector needs to look at resilience, not only among healthcare workers or the persons who support the execution of clinical care, but also among public health. And we also have to have an understanding that while all of this is going on, climate change is still there.
Yeah.
So we're going to need people who understand climate change in a lot of sectors as well. And let us not forget, why did the Caribbean have cases that were severe? Mainly among people with non-communicable diseases. So we need to continue our work, which in some cases has been paused. We need to continue our work to prevent people from having NCDs, and then those who have NCDs, to ensure that they are properly managed so they don't get into the state where they're easy pickings for a virus called SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah, well said. Every time you talk, I listen. Like you just have this call to action about your voice. But nonetheless, we know that time is winding down. And finally, for me, we are seeing European countries actually starting to label this as not a pandemic anymore, but more of an endemic. Do you see that? And of course, countries here in the Caribbean are actually starting to relax, with respect to how we're dealing with the virus. Do you see this endemic status being rolled out anytime soon within the Caribbean?
Well, first of all, it's a pandemic. So CARICOM didn't call it. It was WHO who called it. And I recently went to a briefing that WHO had. And in that briefing, they came up with 3 scenarios for the ways in which this pandemic could evolve. The first one is the endemic. Okay. And they said it would take several years for a virus to evolve that was spreading quickly, but not very virulent. And so we could get to a phase where practically everybody had this disease or was vaccinated. And therefore you had a level of immunity that would not cause illness, that would cause disruption. Yes. And then came Omicron. And it's not only the B1, but also the B2 version, because we've just, that's one of the things I forgot. CARICOM does whole genome sequencing. We've just isolated in one of the member states, and I'm sure we'll find in others, the Omicron stealth. That's the non-scientific name, the Omicron stealth variant. So the setup right now in the world is suggesting that it's going to endemicity. Let's hear the other 2. The other 2 are that it becomes like the flu. Every year we get a different flu vaccine because there are different viruses circulating. Mm-hmm. It's a situation like that, and some variant just starts circulating again, like maybe the Delta or the Alpha or whatever. So that's a possibility. And then the third one is the worst one, which is every couple of years we start back with something totally new, like if it was March 2020 all over again. And we have to go through a process of the world having to get enough immunity that they can go back to normal life again. I don't know what will happen. I just know that I am hoping that the member states are ready to deal with whatever scenario actually comes. And the readiness includes their ability to get the population to follow whatever measures are important. Right now, there are 3 basic measures that work because of an infection prevention and control perspective. You get your immunity through vaccination. You sanitize your hands and your surroundings, and you keep your distance and you use your mask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Those things will deal with most infectious diseases that travel through the air or travel by droplets. So we are a region of aggressive congregators. We love family gatherings. We love the party. We have our carnival, and our tourism is heavily built on that warmth and that gathering. So what we're doing with tourism is at odds with that. So it's going to be an interesting time for the Caribbean as we transition through this particular phase of the pandemic, hoping that it remains as an endemic option that WHO said.
All right. Dr. Joy St. John, we're so glad that you were able to join us this morning. You know, the information is very useful. Now we know exactly what CARFA does and how CARFA helps throughout the Caribbean with its member states. Thank you so very much for joining us. Wishing you a very lovely day with your lovely dress.
Thank you. Continue to have a good day.
All right.
And stay safe.
Of course.
well.
All right, so we're about to take a break. When we come back, of course, we'll be discussing the role of COCATRAM. What is it? How it relates to maritime ports, and how Belize can benefit by being a part of that organization. We've got that when we come back. Stay with us.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word.
The Bible says, every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Cardinal Newman once said that our greatest security was that we can still be shocked by sin. But my greatest fear is that we have lost our sense of the seriousness of sin. Sin, though the size of a man's hand, holds a tornado in its grip. Sin is a seed that, when sown, brings forth death. Sin is a stain that taints man's immortal soul. Sin is subtle. Sin attacks or attracts, and then it attacks. I heard of a man who captured a baby python and he carried it home as a pet. The man was a snake trainer, and he trained the snake to perform with him in a circus act. One night he entered the specially built glass cage to perform his act before a capacity crowd. Slowly the snake began to wind itself around his body until all but his head was enclosed. Suddenly the man began to scream, and the bones in his body began to break and be crushed as a mighty python crushed him to death. The once harmless and powerless pet had become the instrument of his death. Don't wait too late to discover that this is exactly what sin does. Don't play with it, flirt with it, or court it, lest one day at an unexpected moment it will destroy you. The Bible says sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Don't become an illustration of sin's finished product. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
The Mega Bingo Progressive Jackpot is getting bigger and bigger. $649,423 is up for grabs, and you can get your hands on it all. You heard right? That's over $600,000 that can change your life. So purchase your Mega Bingo tickets for the next game, airing this Wednesday, March 2nd at 8 p.m. Live on Channel 5, Radio Bahia, and Love FM. You can also catch the game online. Tune in on Facebook or YouTube. Just search for Belize Mega Bingo. So don't miss the chance to win all that mega cash. Mega Bingo is the game.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, won't even try.
Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gonna try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gonna try. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going.
welcome back. Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our third and final segment for the morning. Now, this one is all about the role of COCATRAM as it relates to maritime ports and how Belize can benefit by being a part of that organization. In to tell us all about it, we've got Otto Guillermo Noack, who is the Executive Director for the Central American Commission for Maritime Transport. And of course, we've got retired Major Gilbert Suazo, Port Commissioner, in with us. Good morning and welcome to both of you.
Boit Binafi, President, good morning. Welcome, Belize. Welcome to the directors, the Ministry of Port Authority, and all those people within the maritime industry. So, very pleasant good morning, one and all.
Senor Noack.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you on behalf of COCATRAM. For me, it's a great pleasure to come back to Belize again after 4 years. We do have a very close relation with this country, with the port authorities, and we are trying to find a way to get to that again and have Belize as a part, as a state member of COCATRAM.
Okay. Senor Noack, can you tell us a little bit for our viewers, what is COCATRAM and what does it mean to have that relationship
Maybe
with
if I may,
Sure.
then I'll hand over to Otto. What has happened is that Belize, as part of the Regional Technical Cooperation Program, is embarking on sort of collaborating with our regional brothers and sisters. And you may be aware that last week we went to Jamaica with a view to also further that international technical cooperation. And so it is then that last year, when we went to a conference in Salvador, we re-engaged with Otto, and it was then that he promised that to return to Belize so that then we can start to re-engage with a view now to build our capacity within the industry so that then we can take our maritime industry, which is somewhat underdeveloped comparing to our region, to a better standard economically and in terms of infrastructure. So we believe that certainly we can benefit by the collaboration with COCATRAM, and Otto is here with a view now for us to solidify and revitalize the kind of engagement with a view to develop the capacity of our maritime industry within Belize.
Excellent, which leads us to...
Additionally, as you may know, Belize as a country is a state member of the regional integrational system that we all know that as the SICA. Okay, COCATRAM is a part of SICA.
Okay.
And we are a very small institution based in Managua, Nicaragua, and we do have 6 state members. We are still looking to have Belize and Dominican Republic. The reason is because we are Central American countries. We are very close one of each other, and we would like to get in touch with the Belize authorities to help them in the same way that we provide technical assistance to the other countries. So there is no reason that when Belize needs to have technical assistance, go to the Caribbean countries, trying to find a way if we do have COCATRAM right next door.
Yeah.
Because we do have a very special relation with the International Maritime Organization. We manage funds coming from them, and we can help Belize in any way. To do that, COCATRAM normally organize networks. We do have networks for port activities, maritime authorities, women in shipping, statistic networks, things like that. And we can offer this experience to the Belize authorities to interchange with the rest of the countries. Belize has to be a part of the Central American countries in all ways.
Yeah.
So that means it's the reason that I am here. I have the possibility to meet Mr. Suazo, as he said, in El Salvador. But we developed in the previous year a very interesting project here in Belize, the Gulf of Honduras project.
Yes.
So I lead this effort, and I come back here trying to get in touch with the Belize authorities, and we hope to have them as a member state in COCATRAM in the near future.
So, Major Suazo, or should I say Commissioner Suazo, just to have Senor Otto in, we know for a fact that that this talk is actually ongoing. You did mention that when it comes to our ports, we're sort of underdeveloped. How do you see COCATRAM or Belize benefiting from COCATRAM?
Well, as I indicated earlier, that through the regional technical cooperation program, we believe that one, through education, we can get our people to develop their technical capacity through education and through practical experiences. COCATRAM does have that experience. Furthermore, we, from a Port Authority's perspective, are looking to engage more with the Honduras Port Authority and the private ports in Honduras. COCATRAM will be able to support that so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, so they can hold our hands and guide us through that same process. Right, so that it is this networking is very important for us, so that then we can develop in port state control, we can develop different areas within the industry, so that then we enhance that capacity.
So, Senor Otto?
Yes, as you may remember, in two different opportunities, we organize here in Belize, the Repica Forum is the most important port forum for the Central American countries.
Okay.
It means we can get together the whole experience, the key actors, private sector, everyone together to discuss and interchange knowledge and developments about the port facilities.
Okay.
And the port system in Belize will be together with the rest of the Central American port facilities.
Okay.
This is why it's important to get together.
Yeah, so more integration, right? We'll be more integrated with Central America. And again, the opportunity, because we are also aligned with the CMU from the Caribbean.
Okay.
That's another arm, right? So we can benefit from CMU, we can benefit from COCATRAM. And that collaboration can enable us, from a Belize perspective, to quantum leap in terms of infrastructural development, in terms of education opportunities, and every way we can benefit.
So, and I really and truly like the conversation, simply because we're trying to get Belize on COCATRAM. So we've got 6 members of COCATRAM right now, trying to get Belize to become a 7th. What are some of the benefits right now that these countries are actually benefiting from COCATRAM that Belize does not have at this point?
Let me tell you, to be a part of COCATRAM, for what are the benefits for the rest of the countries? We have key actors like Panama as a country. It's the largest flag state in the world. It's the largest flag state in the world. Then you can follow how the countries are growing and getting better in the whole activities, maritime authorities and port sector. But how can we help them? Providing technical assistance, investing money, having projects, interacting, changing experiences from the north to the south and from the south to the north. And the main, one of the main things is we can help the countries to improve the IMO conventions. We provide training and assistance coming from IMO annually. We manage around $250,000 that we invest in the countries to help them to get better. And like this, with the funds that we manage, we support the countries. All the activities that we organize, we pay for them. And this is the way to get back the money to the benefit of the countries. To be a member of COCATRAM is obviously you have to pay, how do you say in English?
$133,000.
$333.
Yes.
Okay.
A membership fee?
Yes. So there's a membership fee. You can hold the mic up there,
yes,
Commissioner.
Yes.
100 and which lead me to ask the question, because I was thinking here, okay, You've got a business, you definitely want more revenue. How does this boost Belize's revenue?
Well, there's a formula that is utilized, which we will have to look to legislate. And through that legislation, we will be able to perhaps get those fees through the amount of tonnage that we have in Belize.
Okay.
And let me also give you an example. Like, for example, Otto spoke of the Gulf of Honduras project. That was a tripartite arrangement between Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras. But during that same project, Belize benefited by getting some hydrographic equipment, which are very, very expensive. And those are used to ensure to start and measure the depths of the water, then put them onto the charts for navigation safety.
Okay.
Right? So we don't have to run into the reef. So you know exactly where to
navigate, yes.
Where to navigate.
Yes.
And then where to put those buoys for safe navigation in delicate, sensitive areas within the reef system.
Wow.
So we benefit from that. And now, re-engaging with COCOTRAN, we'll have the opportunity to get more technical equipment and support, more people to be educated, right? And again, to get legislative support. Because as it is right now, we ratify several conventions, but we have not domesticated those conventions.
Okay.
So we can also get support from COCOTRAN with a view to properly domesticate those conventions and have us in a better position in the international scene.
So what is the proposal that you are implying, and who are you taking this to?
Well, certainly we have to take it to our board, and then through the ministry, and then certainly once the ministry get it at the ministerial level, you get that kind of approval for it to be enacted into law, right? And then that will benefit us by getting better visibility at the International Maritime Organization.
All right. So, Senor Otto, very interesting, because you know, when people see ports, they don't see it with the mindset that there's a lot going on there. You feel like you just go to a port, get what you need, and then eventually you move on. So back to COCOTRAN, you've got these six players that are actually a part of it. You've got your fees so that you're actually you're able to be helped in the event of such thing. How long before you see this talk with Belize come to a conclusion and Belize being a part of it?
You know, don't ask me, ask the Belize authorities. Because it's an internal decision.
Yes.
We already did an effort in the previous year. I was explaining my friend Gilbert Suazo that when we were developing the Gulf of Honduras project, we talked with the former transport minister, Mr. George Lovell. And through him, we start to ask everyone.
Yeah.
And I know that in the board of directors stop the effort, because the meaning is how to get the money.
Yes.
And not affect the national budget. So what are we doing with the Central American countries? They apply a special rate in the cargo. So this means, 5 cents American US dollars, you can collect a lot of money, and then this money can transfer to COCOTRAN to do their activities.
Oh.
And it's many different ways to have the fund and the possibility to be a part of.
Yes.
We already talked with Gilbert, and he is start to think how to manage this matter. And I promise that we are coming back soon with a technical group from my organization, trying to find the easy way, but it's going to be in the Belizean authorities' hands.
Yeah, and during this visit, Otto had also emphasized that there's a need to get our data into COCOTRAN so we can better understand what kind of trade is being facilitated through the respective ports within Belize.
Yeah.
So those data are very critical for us to understand how we can better manage and even improve the amount of cargo passing through Belize.
Yeah.
So that collaboration is critical for trade, for maritime trade, for Belize as a country.
And one of the things about this is that we're only seeing our country becoming much more bigger, sir. So the commodities that we're importing and all that, of course, becomes much more. And so this is definitely an interesting venture for both parties. But how difficult would it to eventually transport or transfer data? It comes across as it will be a lengthy process.
Well, currently, we are benefiting through Warback Consultancy,
okay.
Specifically as it relates to the digitalization of the port sector. That consultancy is ongoing. It is our hope that by the end of this month and no later than in April, we should be getting a roadmap in the way ahead as it relates specific to digitalization, maritime digitalization. So we are on the right track. And this visit is sort of complementing what we are doing. So then, as I had indicated earlier, it will give us some level of quantum leap because we have no need to reinvent the wheel at all.
Yeah.
Right? We have guidance, support from our brothers, from our Central American brothers and sisters, and we are welcoming that. Now, it is for us to demonstrate the will and the fortitude to move forward to achieve so that then we do not have to remain underdeveloped in this maritime sector.
Excellent. Well said.
And curiously, I met the World Bank consultant yesterday, and we do have a common friend, an IMO.
Okay.
So we can start to talk with him to find additional ways to help Belize.
Yes.
Because we are preparing an initiative that we call the Global Maritime Preparedness Program.
Okay.
To help the countries to get ready to natural disaster, resilience, port facilities, things like that. So we are finding the way to help Belize in matters like this. Climate change, protect your port facilities, and things like that. So we are interested to help Belize.
All right. Well, it seems like an ongoing dialogue, of course, and it seems that one that is being very progressive. That much we know. Time is winding down. Anything else you'd like to share with us before you leave?
Well, certainly, one of the things that we're looking for is to get more people involved in the maritime industry. We're looking to youths because there will be scholarship opportunities through COCOTRAM, through the regional body in the Caribbean. And we firmly believe that it is exciting. And once we achieve those objectives, I believe that we can enhance the economic stability of Belize through maritime. We have most of our economic activities are land-based.
Okay.
And if we are to transition and focus more on the maritime industry, I certainly believe that we can increase our budget through the maritime and the port sector. And we can get that support by linking and joining hands with our Caribbean brothers and our Central American brothers and sisters. So again, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to Otto for taking the time to come to reach out to be able to then take us to another level.
Excellent.
So thanks very much, Otto, and we look forward to the continued collaboration which we truly will embrace.
All right. Senor Otto?
Just my deep appreciation to allow me to be a part of this program. I close my eyes and I dream that I will help Belize as a state member in COCOTRAM before I leave of the position. So it was a very interesting goal for me, and I really have a special appreciation for this country, and I would like to help Belize. That's it.
Thank you both.
All right, thank you both for joining
us this morning. And with enough said, right? But with that, we're going to take our final break, and then we'll come back for a wrap up. Stay tuned.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button, where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
Applying for a Social Security sickness benefit? Here's what you need to know. A complete claims package include 1. Sickness claim form fully completed by the claimant and medical doctor. 2. Salaries record form completed by the employer or HR representative. 3. Proof of bank account such as bank book, online banking, or statement displaying your name and account number. To submit via email, you need to take a clear photo or scan of the documents and email to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Be sure to include your full name, social security number, and benefit type in the subject line of the email. Or you can drop off all completed forms into the Dropbox slot at the nearest branch office. Deadline to submit is 14 days from your first day of illness. All forms are available on the website at www.socialsecurity.org.bz. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
When something is good and you can save, that makes it even better. Like this guy, he buys Flex bundles using his promo credit. No worries when his primary credit is finished. He gets talk, text, and data for free. Or her, she calls her family internationally with her promo credit. And with data packages so affordable, she even does video calls. Smart continues to offer great deals and affordable promotions. As a small business owner, she saves when she uses her promo credit to call the other guys. All Smart customers enjoy more triple days and knowing they can use their promo credit, which just lasts longer. Smart, bringing people together.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Won't even try.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gon' try. Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gon' try. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. People die every day, I'm not going with ya. I'ma find my own way, I'm not going with ya. It's okay, I'll wait. Even good people make mistakes. I don't wanna realize when it's too late. Drinking and driving is never safe. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gon' try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gon' try.
Okay, students, let's focus now.
Teacher, yes, teacher.
Can anyone tell me what sustainable development means? Ganze?
Huh?
Anybody?
Teacher. Last night my dad was talking about sustainable development and he said something about people and nature and something else. Oh, and money.
That's good. But did you ask your dad what sustainable development really means?
Yes, teacher, but he said I was too young to know what that is. Is it something bad?
No, Balisha, it's not bad. It's delicious. Well, at least it looks delicious on the TV.
Can I get some? No, Waldo. You're thinking about edible arrangements. That's what you saw, edible arrangements.
Don't laugh, class. Some people get confused with sustainable development. But when we balance the three things Padisha said, we achieve sustainable development.
What do you mean by balance, teacher?
It is when people use only the resources they need from the forest, rivers, and sea and leave some resources to grow back again.
But teacher, why do people cut down the nice trees that give us shade and kill the poor animals?
Because people need wood to build houses, food to cook, and water to drink.
But teacher, we have enough trees to get wood and enough plants and animals to get food. Good enough that we can sell them and make money.
That may be so, Waldo. We need money to live. But if we use up all the resources, then there will be none left for our friends and families to see later. Do you think that's fair?
No, teacher. That's being greedy. My mom always tells me to use what I need now and save for rainy days.
Exactly.
Teacher, if we take care of Belize's precious resources and practice sustainable development, we and our children can enjoy all of Belize. That's what I learned from the Department of the Environment when they came to present at our school.
Oh, that's excellent, Waldo.
And welcome back. Three lovely conversations, that much I could tell you.
We've had an impressive morning.
Very much so, but I've got to highlight the fact that the new SI is out and the country is in a more relaxed mode with respect to the SI. So curfew is no longer in play. The curfew is no longer in place. It's just your regular daily life without the curfew. But with respect to mask wearing and stuff like that, yes, once you enter an establishment, a public building, a public space, yes, you need to be wearing a mask. If you're walking outside or you're in an outdoor area, you no longer have to wear a mask. But there are a lot of things that some folks might find a little bit touchy about about this
keep your distance.
You still keep your distance.
Even though you don't have to wear your mask, you still keep your distance, you still sanitize, you still wash your hands. In closed spaces, you do have to wear your mask, like
you do have to wear your mask, yes.
But it's going to be a transition, I feel. I still see people outside walking with their mask. I still walk with a mask. And you know, that habit of having to always have one on you, always having to keep it close, still should not go away, because we still have to wear it.
We're still in a pandemic.
We're still in a pandemic. Yes, it's relaxed. I love that the cases are going down. I love that people have done their due diligence and have done their best to get vaccinated, to get boosted, to remain socially distant, and to make the numbers go down. What I really would like to remind people is what Dr. Putt had said when she was here at that time, is that we're seeing a bumpy graph effect, right? Where the cases are going to go down gradually, and then there's going to be a spike. It's going to pop back up, yes. Right? And that is always in respect to large gatherings. So even though that the SI is saying we're relaxing a little bit, do your part as a citizen to keep the numbers down. I know Easter is coming, right? Right before December, we saw that low numbers, and then right after Christmas and New Year's, you're gonna right back up. So, you know, Easter is coming. We have all of the Ruta Maya is coming. So just do your due diligence and try your best to be as safe as possible.
You're totally right. It's always best to be as safe as possible. I always say, this situation is because of us. Once there is a spike in COVID, thereafter, it's because of us. But having the minister on, he did mention that there will be mechanisms in place in the event the numbers should eventually want to spike back up again. They'll be putting things in place. There are a lot of people who are thankful for the fact that the curfew is no longer in effect. I get totally used to it. I don't want to be out after 12. That's just me. That's just me. We've been practicing to wear a mask for 2 years. I can't just take it off and say, okay, free at last, free at last. I already was in that regimen whereby I'm putting on a mask as soon as I leave my home.
Also,
so that's just how I feel.
I'll be the first person to tell you, I suffer from like allergies and stuff in the morning, and having that mask on had helped a great deal. I'm going to be honest about that. It's not just about COVID, but it was just anything that is in the air.
Anything that is in the air.
So we're used to that. We're used to the mask. If you are somebody that just wants to wear it and you feel secure wearing it, you don't have to take it. It is completely up to you.
It's up to you now, right? At this particular point, once you're outdoors, all right? But let's some of the main points of the SI, April, is the fact that if you're planning on leaving the country by land borders, then you have to be fully vaccinated, all right? Meaning that you get both your shots. So once you're planning on leaving this country via the land borders, you must be fully vaccinated. That way, once you're coming back into the country, you no longer have to take a test because you've proved that you were fully vaccinated before you left. It's the same like the tourists who are coming in also from the Philip Golson International Airport. But if you're leaving the country, like the minister said, he's leaving today, but because of the regulations with the air transport, you must still present a negative COVID test in order for you to catch a plane and leave this country.
And of course,
you must still present that.
The insurance, the travel insurance is still something that is available and up, so that it doesn't seem like that's going away. And also remember that this SI is kind of an observatory effect, a research
throughout the month of March.
Throughout the month of March.
Yes.
So they're like a test, right?
It's like a test.
They're like a homework assignment where they tell you, all right, you have to do this, 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 and this, but keep in mind that you still have to try to be safe.
Yeah.
And then they'll be assessed at the end of March, and we'll see how you did, right? We'll come back and see your result. And if you pass, maybe you're gonna
things relax
you're
more.
Gonna Mexico for Easter, maybe, right?
But while we're having some fun with it, it is very important for folks to understand how important these things are, and of course the people we put in place to instill these things for us, like for instance the Minister of Health and Wellness. very important that, especially when it comes to proprietor of business, there will be some concerts. There will be the Bellic in La Ruta Maya coming up, but the folks who own these events, they must be very, very vigilant and make sure that the people who are attending these events are fully vaccinated.
Yes.
You must be fully vaccinated to take part.
I'm going to say that sounds like it's going to be something difficult. It's going to be a hard job to do because when you start to, you can't maneuver and traffic a lot of people that are coming into an outdoor space, especially as a thing like Ruta Maya, right? So you have to do your part as the promoter of the event and make sure you have your security for check the vaccination cards, make sure that everybody in there is maintaining
But there's the app.
social distance. There is the app, right? So let's hope that it's, yes, on our part as well as citizens, but also the people that are promoting to do your part and to make sure that the people that are coming in are fully vaccinated. You know, if you're in an enclosed space, they do have to keep their mask on. If they're in an open space, make sure that they have their proper requirements to be in that area.
You know, then I could see the economical side of it,
Yes.
whereby you were not able to go to a concert. And there are a lot of promoters, and these people have been out there saying that, hey, why we can't have people in who are fully vaccinated? We are actually, we've done our part.
Yes.
You've told us that, you know what, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. We've done that, but there is nothing going on. So we must understand that with the promoters, this is their way of making their income as well for their families. And people going out to the event is actually a way to support that. If the old saying, a one cocoa full basket, this is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
Just that, you need to adhere to the rules. And I think that's one of the things what we were saying throughout the commercial break. That, look, because there is no curfew, or you could allow 75% of a capacity to be in your establishment, people would just want to let loose.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. We must be responsible.
We have to be responsible. And you know, I don't want people to feel that it's a bias against those who are not vaccinated. You know, it is in your best interest to do so. It is in your best interest. It is in your family's best interest. It is in your neighbor's best interest for you to get vaccinated. The immunity is in the vaccination.
Yeah.
So
and we can see that.
We can.
Yes.
That is the results of the cases going down, right? So,
indeed. And there's still testing sites across the country. Here
which
in
are
the
available
city.
until the end of March.
Until the end of March, these testing sites will be out there. But the Minister Bernard, Minister of Health and Wellness, did mention that the people who are actually helping out with the testing sites will now be put to do the mobile vaccinations. They'll be going to houses, going to schools. And because there are a lot of people who are not vaccinated, who are still skeptical, they're still thinking about it. And you might not be able to, or you might not have the wherewithal or the know-how to get to a spot.
Yeah.
So they're actually going to take that now to you. People will be out there to tell you the importance of vaccination and the fact that it works. Look, April, I'll tell you what. I did caught the virus, and it was the Omicron variant. And I knew that it was that because of what they said the Omicron variant was, or how it affects you. When I got that, I was so thankful that I was fully vaccinated and boosted, because it didn't affect me as much.
Right.
And I know that it was because I was vaccinated. I know that. And for this reason, I say, if you're skeptical about the vaccine, look, go on out there, get vaccinated. We're still in a country whereby it's free. There's some countries you're not able to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
You can't find a vaccine.
I mean, I've not caught COVID-19, thank goodness I've not caught it. As yet, because I had to wait for the shoe to drop. But, you know, I still do my part in wearing my mask and keeping social distance and washing my hands, and I go sleep by 9. This curfew thing, they do nothing for me. I still go and have a bed, you know. But the reality is that whether or not I had it was asymptomatic, or I maybe felt like I had a flu or something, which, you know. But the reality is that the vaccination does help. The boost does help. And I have all of my shots. I don't know about you, from I smile, I get shots.
I've been getting my shots too. Fast smile.
Yes, so vaccines work, you know.
Vaccines work. And again, going out there, get vaccinated. It's very important that you do so. Shortly, we'll be wrapping things up. All right, shortly we'll be wrapping things up. As a matter of fact, we've got some parting shots from the Prime Minister as our reporter out there in San Pedro actually caught up with him to give some parting shots from, of course, the CARICOM heads that are meeting out there. So here's the Prime Minister.
Now, let's just talk a bit about transitioning here just a little bit to talk about the first day of meetings and how that went.
Well, it was an intense day. I mean, as you all know, we started a little after 9 and did not wrap up until a little after 7. We had some intense discussions, especially in the single market and economy, on food security. Those were the ones that took a lot of our time. Of course, COVID, post-COVID, what are the subsequent countries are taking, the easing of restrictions, passing more of the responsibility, not only from the state but also to personal responsibility in many of our countries. And Belize certainly is an exceptional case that the state has done everything to protect our citizens. But we can't continue to protect you forever. We need to give you back your personal freedoms, but at the same time reminding you that you also have a personal responsibility to look after yourself and to look after your families. Talking about the difficulties that we're going through because of COVID, the increases in poverty, the increases of debt to GDP as countries, many businesses closing down, in many instances no fault of theirs. And so now we have to plan how we're going to recover from that. So again, that was another part of a long discussion. We had another long discussion on food security. COVID-19 taught us a lesson that if as a community we can work together, we can grow our own food. The CARICOM community has about $16 billion market. And if we can work insularly and trying to grow some of the products, and I must give credit to President Ali of Guyana, who did an intensive and extensive study by the different countries through the ministries of agriculture as to where we have competitive advantages, what are the things that we can grow. Obviously, we can't do everything in the Caribbean community, but we believe that that we could get at least 50 or 60% of that market to grow our own food, like chicken and pork and beef and vegetables, the grains. There's so much that can be done, and we need to take advantage of that.
All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy, quote unquote. I understand that your visitors, your guests, they had a chance last night to experience some of Belize's unique and rich culture. Tell us about that experience.
That was something quite an eye-opener, even for myself being a local. I must give credit to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that what they did is that they had what they call Taste Belize. So they had different from tacos to shrimp in a coconut husk. I mean, that was exceptional. Hudut, rice and beans. I could not. I mean, I was going for the hudut and I said rice and beans, and it looked so nice and juicy and wet and soft. I had to get some of the rice and beans and some of the hudut. So it was
rice and beans with hudut?
Yes, I put the hudut on the side and I eat both of them. But I'm happy that our visitors are really enjoying. Many of them they're coming to Belize for the first time. Some of the heads have been here, but others for the first time, or their staff, and they are having a blast. And they recognized that Belize is different in the sense we have something different to offer than the Caribbean. I mean, the Caribbean you could see wonderful, beautiful beaches, and our beaches are not as spectacular as theirs, but we have the Barrier Reef. We have the different cultures. Unlike in the Caribbean, they don't have that mix in many instances, but Belize has that rich culture from the blacks to the mestizos, to the East Indians, to the Chinese, to Arabs. I mean, you name it, we have them. We still probably even have a Russian or two living in Belize. So, and that's what makes Belize's melting pot and an exciting place to be.
Finally, sir, what's on the agenda for today? I understand climate change is a big issue.
Yes, this morning first we finished caucus. Yesterday evening we went on caucus. We just spoke about Belize, Guatemala. We gave them an update. Then we spoke about Guyana, Venezuela, and they also gave us an update. And then today we're going to be dealing with Haiti. Haiti is a particularly difficult one. Haiti has been going through a very, very difficult time from the assassination of their president, and hurricanes, floodings, earthquakes, all in one, and so they are almost at a point of almost not functioning. And so we as a community, we can't turn our backs on Haiti. We need to stick with them. They are a member of the community, and see how we can garner international support for Haiti. And of course, today we're going to talk with the 5 Cs. The Climate Change Office in Belize is going to give us an update on COP26 and what are the steps going forward.
No, sir, I have to ask again at request. It's noticeable that you have the ashes on your forehead. Just bring back that question about what's the significance and the importance of this to you as a person.
I wish we would not have to cover it. I mean, it's something personal, but more than anything else, is, as I said earlier, is just to show that that as Christians we accept that we're sinners, and we're starting off. This is the first day of Lent, when Jesus Christ, who came here to save all of us, started going through these 40 days of tests, and where he was questioning himself, even himself, and ended up by when he was crucified on the cross for all of us. And then it ends joyously where he came back from the dead and to save all of us.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you, Pierre.
And there you have it. That was a very quick update from the Prime Minister on day one of the 33rd Intersessional Heads of CARICOM meeting.
It was great having that. Of course, Marlene, the work continues today. The meetings continue, as you heard the Prime Minister rightfully say. And you can tune in for the live broadcast of the press conference at 5 p.m. where they wrap up the CARICOM meetings.
That's right. Please do look out for that and for more in our newscast tonight at 6 p.m. That's it for us, guys. April, we love the hair.
Oh, yeah.
We want to say that much. You and John have a great day. And that's it for us. Marlene Cuellar and
Paul Lopez
from San Pedro.
Thank you guys so very much. Parting shots from the Prime Minister on day one. But we've got to go as well.
Yes, we do gotta go.
And indeed, April, we love the hair. New look. But if you've got any questions, any concerns, you could drop us a line at oye@channel5belize.com.
Of course, check us out on our social media at Open Your Eyes BZ on Facebook and OYE Belize on Instagram.
Definitely. You can join us again tomorrow, and we'll be right here again tomorrow, of course. When you open your eyes,
start your morning right.
As per usually, keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
And of course, we're going to see you soon. Do enjoy your day, Belize.
Goodbye, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country,